Masterpiece. Yes, this movie is a masterpiece. You should go see it. You should shut this video off. You should click off the screen. You should go see it, because not enough people are probably seeing this at the moment, and you should go watch it. So I just got to see Late Night with the Devil, the brand new film from the director duo, the Carneys brothers. I have never seen anything else that they've made. This is the first thing I've seen from them. My God, am I going to be watching everything they make from here on out? It stars David Dastmalchian. It is the first time I've ever seen him in a leading role in a movie, and God, does he deserve it. He has been so good in so many different things as a supporting character, and here, he takes the lead, and this is... what a remarkably unique and inventive film in a genre that desperately needed something like this. So Late Night with the Devil is essentially sort of a mockumentary type of film where we're following the events of this infamous night in late night television, where David plays this late night television host who's competing with Johnny Carson. He's competing for ratings, and his show has been kind of failing. He's gone through some traumatic things in his life, and he's trying to find a way to boost the ratings so he can keep his show. So, on Halloween night, he decides to bring on some guests to try to speak to the dead and commune with the devil. It's a really simple setup that ends up making for such a unique and interesting film. This entire film is essentially filmed as a talk show. It never really breaks from that mold of we're watching through the cameras of this talk show, this late night TV show. So we're following these different segments of this episode. Some of them get really weird, some of them are really kind of normal, and we get to know these characters who are all just so interesting in their own right. Not just our lead talk show host here, but even like his side guy. Gio, I think his name was just such a funny guy. He also have the guy that comes out, the medium, who's hilarious, and kind of what happens with his character is also just very interesting, and it makes you think. Early on in the film, it makes you think about what's real, what's not real. You have the guy that plays the skeptic, who is such a punchable human being, and I think that's the point. All of the characters work so well, and it makes it so the movie, which is a show essentially, even when stuff isn't happening on screen, you're still kind of engaged with this main idea of, is there something supernatural going on here, or is there not something supernatural going on here? And in between these talk show stuff, we do get actual scenes of a movie, which are sort of filmed in a very Oppenheimer-style black and white. And what I mean by that is the black and white and the cinematography looked like Oppenheimer's black and white cinematography. It was very unique, and it definitely worked. And a lot of these sections really flesh out the characters. You get to see them behind the camera. What are these people like off camera? And that's where we get into the themes of the story, which I'll go into later. But essentially, the movie builds up to what we've all been waiting for. This kind of exorcist-like situation where you have this girl who's been possessed by a demon and this doctor who come on the show, and they try to bring the demon out in her, and it's in all the trailers, and you know what's coming. It looks very exorcist-like, and this film is definitely going for that kind of vibe. And my God, as soon as this girl comes out into this show and we start getting into that stuff, this movie loses its shit in the most crazy and like shocking ways imaginable. It becomes something so different than anything I've ever seen, so unique, so suspenseful. It is just non-stop suspense, and might I say, terrifying. Some of the horror in this movie, and it's hard to describe it as horror because it's really not a horror movie if you just look at it from a distance, but there are some of the most frightening and horrifying scenes I have ever seen in movies. Scenes that are sticking with me even right now. My drive home, they were sticking with me. They are just so smart, and it's a different kind of horror. So when I say this, don't go into this expecting jump scares and like a normal horror type setups. No. That's not what I mean. You might not even find some of the shit that I found in this movie to be scary. But the scares in this movie are very different. It's a very different type of horror that is so smart and so brilliant, and I wish more horror filmmakers would go down this route. But back on topic, the girl that plays the little girl in the movie, Lily, I think her name is Ingrid Torelli, she's incredible. What a performance in this movie. She has one of the few young actresses I've seen in Hollywood. Young actresses or young actors, when they bring in these young child actors to come in and play these terrifying, demonic kids, this girl sells it better than I have ever seen, maybe other than the original Exorcist movie. She is unreal. From the moment she comes out, to the way that she glares in the camera, to the way that she plays sort of this innocent, sort of, you know, innocent girl type of vibe, but at the same time having a weird maturity to her that she shouldn't have. And there just seems to be something that's off about her, but you're still questioning whether there is a supernatural element to the movie, so you're not 110% sure. And then when you get into the creepy Exorcist stuff, oh my God, the performance goes up another level. She's incredible. one of the best performances I've seen from a young unknown actor in a horror movie, like, ever. It is unreal, and it really sells this film. And I'm still trying to figure out what this film exactly is. Like, I could not, if this was a spoiler video, I could not explain to you thematically everything that this movie is trying to say, what it really means. I think the movie as a whole is trying to say and ask the question to the audience, what would you sell? What would you sacrifice to have fame, to have success? I think that's sort of what the film is trying to present, but the third act of this movie becomes very psychological. It becomes something different. Not for too long. It doesn't drag on. That's the best part. There was a point in the third act where I was like, if it drags on any longer, it might to get into that realm of now this is becoming like Beau is Afraid, where it doesn't really work, but it never drags that long. It gets to its conclusion, and it ends at the perfect spot, and for me, it stuck the landing perfectly, and the third act was just the perfect cherry on top of what I think is a perfect movie. This movie is absolutely incredible. I can't make the promise that you're going to love this film as much as I do, because it's a very, very different type of film. It's a film that I don't even know how to describe, if I'm going to be honest. I'm trying my best here, but the one thing I will say is you are going to see a film unlike anything you have ever seen in a movie theater. This movie is what cinema's for. It's what movies in this art form is about. It's about inventing and reinventing. It's about changing the game and striving to tell stories in a different and unique way. It's not about recycling the same used up formulas and functions. No, it's about finding new lanes and new avenues to do something different, to surprise audiences and give them something to hold on to. And this movie is one of the most unique things I have ever seen in this industry, and because of that, I loved every moment of it. And there are two scenes in particular that I think are the scariest scenes I've seen in horror in years. And yet again, when I say scares, I don't mean conventional scares. It's just the way that they went about telling the story and unveiling it just left me so unsettled. I would compare it to something more like an Ari Aster type horror movie. I'm not talking about like Hereditary. I'm talking about maybe Midsommar, a movie that's really not your standard horror film. It scares you in different ways. This is kind of very similar in a sense. This movie just makes you feel very engaged in its plot, but by the end you feel so off-settled. You feel like you're sitting in the audience with the people at this late night show. That's what the film really does. It grabs you from your audience seat, it rips you through the cameras, and it sits you in this auditorium, and it literally gives you like an out-of-body experience of you feel so a part of it. And when you can do that as a filmmaker, when you can get an audience, or at least me, that engaged in something, you have accomplished something so beautiful in this industry that I don't even know how to describe, man. This movie has some crazy references too. It brings up Bohemian Grove, which to me is like a big no-no. That's like an Alex Jones conspiracy type thing. It's not a conspiracy because we know it's real now, but that's one of those things where it's like all of these billionaires, all of these actresses, they all are kind of involved in that shit. Look up Bohemian Grove. I'm not going to go into it here, but they bring that up in this film. They got some balls! And it's, like, kind of intricate to the plot. It's brought up in the first moment, so it's not a spoiler, don't worry. But, like, it's pretty intricate to the plot, and wow, good for them for bringing something that kind of crazy and terrifying in real life into a film and merging both real life and film world kind of in one. Just brilliant. I think the film also echoes a lot of what we see in real life with people chasing fame and people kind of chasing these big moments. You look on social media, on YouTube, on the internet, on TikTok, and you see some of the crazy shit that people do, the horrible things that people do just to get views and clicks and likes, and yet again, I think that's sort of what this movie's trying to say, and maybe I'm just offbeat, but that's kind of what I got out of it, but it's just such a dense movie when it comes to its themes, and I'm not entirely sure if I can unpack them all at the moment. But wow, this movie is fantastic. It has phenomenal performances from top to bottom from everybody involved. Bunch of people I've never even seen in anything ever before. They're all on top of their game here. It's got some of the best and unique and innovative filmmaking you will ever see. I know there was some controversy that there was some sequence or something that was generated by AI. Who gives a shit? Because this movie was made by people, okay? And without the people involved, it would not have been as good as it was. You have the best exorcist, you know, sort of possessed girl in a horror movie that we've ever gotten, I think. Maybe since The Exorcist, maybe even better than The Exorcist. It is brilliant, just creepy vibes all around, and just utterly perfection, man. It's just utterly perfect. This movie is a masterpiece on every scalable level that you can imagine. I am going to give Late Night with the Devil a 5 out of 5. I wish I can give it higher. I've got to invent some kind of new scoring system that there's kind of like a level above a 5 out of 5, just for movies like this that are just another level of great. I want to make the point that I actually saw this movie in a double feature. I saw Sydney Sweeney's movie, Immaculate, right before this. I'm also going to be doing a review for that. It should be coming out in the next day or so. Let me just say, it's really weird going from a movie like that, which is, you know, kind of your conventional horror movie, kind of your slugfest horror movie, falling asleep during and not really vibing with it, to seeing this shit. Wow! That's, yeah, it's an eye-opener for the industry. It's an eye-opener to see a big-budget horror film kind of crash and burn like that, and then a movie that nobody's ever heard of, like this, come out of nowhere and be one of what I'm going to assume is at the very least going to be a top 3 movie of the year for me. Is it better than Dune Part 2? I can't say that. It would be foolish of me to say it's better than Dune Part 2, but it is going to be probably a top 3 movie of the year for me. Go see Late Night with the Devil and support this movie. It deserves every single viewer it can get. That's the video, guys. Hope you guys liked it. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Click the video on your screen right now, and I will see you in the next one.